The voice of sharing, Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is your host Arlene Tan at the Durian Heat, where we discuss critical issues from Southeast Asia. Today we are going to talk about smart leaders, smarter cities, on the importance of cultural intelligence to leaders and cities in Southeast Asia. So, what makes a city smart? That is a question that is in the heart of every policymakers and city builders. It all starts with great leadership, but what makes a leader great? The answer is cultural intelligence. Beyond having a higher IQ and a deeper EQ is being able to work in anywhere with everyone, together solving the challenges in the 21st century. I will be speaking with Adirupa Sengupta, the CEO of Common Purpose Asia Pacific, an organization dedicated to doing just that, developing great leaders. In this segment, Adirupa shares about the importance of having cultural intelligence among leaders.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, welcome back. This is Arlene, and of course, you are still with me on our Durian Heat. And with me is Adirupa Sengupta, CEO of Common Purpose Asia Pacific. Early on, we discussed in details about the ASEAN Leaders Program as well as about Common Purpose Asia Pacific. So, just to continue a bit on the ASEAN Leaders Program, what makes it different from the usual leadership programs that we see?
Thank you, Arlene. Good to be back again. I think one of the things that has to be said about the ASEAN Leaders Program, which is true for a lot of common purposes work and its programs, is the ASEAN Leaders Program will be deeply, deeply local and regional on one hand, and it will also be very much global and international on the other. That is quite a unique proposition for the ASEAN region, because at a time when the region is kind of searching for its identity and really trying to come together as an ASEAN economic community, it is also reaching out to the rest of the world and wants the rest of the world to reach out to it. I mean, last week is a case in point when the US ASEAN summit happened in the US, where President Obama hosted the 10 leaders of the ASEAN governments. That is quite symptomatic of ASEAN, that on one hand they're coming together, on the other hand they're trying to connect with the rest of the world. And the great thing about the ASEAN Leaders Program is it will be looking at issues that matter to the ASEAN in the way the program is delivered. It will take place in Singapore, it will take place in Jakarta in 2016, and we will move it across the ASEAN countries in the future. But there will be an additional element to the program, which is a part 2 element, where the participants get to go and visit another city in a totally different part of the world. In 2016,
not in Southeast Asia?
Not in Southeast Asia. In 2016, we are hoping it will be New York. Then we will take the program to London, perhaps to Melbourne, perhaps to a city in China, Japan, India in the future. So on one hand, the program is extremely about the ASEAN. On the other hand, it is about connecting ASEAN to the world and allowing the world to connect to the ASEAN. That, I think, Arlene, is quite unique about our proposition.
Having said that, do you think ASEAN have a deficit of smart leadership, seeing the situation of ASEAN right now is still growing, is still trying to find its identity?
You know what? I wouldn't say there is a deficit in leadership, but I think to me there feels to be there often is a lack of opportunity for the sheer talent that exists in the ASEAN to come together and to figure out how they can make 2 and 2 11. So the leadership is there, and there is some excellence of leadership in some pockets. The talent that I have seen in the ASEAN, I honestly tell you, I have been staggered by the power and intensity of that talent. But what I feel is opportunities for that talent to come together, to come and do things together, to connect with each other, to share each other's knowledge, to learn from each other's context, and to do something positive for the ASEAN those sorts of opportunities I feel are few and far between. And that's why I'm excited about the ASEAN Leaders Program. I think what the program will do is tap into that talent and give that opportunity a talent to shine. I don't think it needs to create talent from nothing, because the talent is there in abundance.
Talking about leadership, nowadays people always like to differentiate what makes a good leader. If you can just give an overview according to common purpose, what makes a good leader and what makes a poor leader, and how to avoid to go through that path?
I think one of the things that Common Purpose is very passionate about, and that's not because it's Common Purpose's agenda. That's because a lot of our partners and stakeholders who we work with across the world tell us it's the ability to work with people who are very different from you. That, I think, Arlene, is a very, very important leadership trait, something that the world, I would say, is quite deficit in the world, something that the world is crying out for and will need more and more of. The world is becoming complex, much more complex. On the one hand, it is shrinking because of technology and all the things that connects and binds us. On the other hand, there is a certain drifting that's happening. People are failing to connect with each other at a people-to-people level. And as I said, we notice this trait in a lot of leaders who we work with, and they say they want to improve on this trait. People can work with people, of course they can, but they feel comfortable working with people who are like them.
I see.
Sorry, what we need is people.
Sorry, when you say people, do you mean people of different culture or different age group or different skill sets?
I would think all sorts. I think people who are, who are very different from them. So different culture, different age group, different value systems. Because often people's values clash, but they don't clash in a way that can produce the magic for them to work better together. One of the things I find in working in Asia is that people often are a bit resistant to challenge each other.
Oh, yeah.
And as a result,
people are very reserved. Even if they are unhappy about situation, they would rather keep it to themselves.
Absolutely. And I think that often comes in the way of people either growing as leaders or as leaders, that comes in the way of people having a bigger impact. So I think one of the leadership traits that, we think is going to be very important in the world as it becomes complex and more interconnected, but also fractious in strange ways, is the ability of people to work with, ability of leaders to work with people who are very different from them. And that is something that will be much needed, whether you're in the private sector, whether you're in the public sector, or whether you're in the social sector, or whether you're, what I would describe as part of the next generation leader. Because the intergenerational ability to connect intergenerationally is actually a really important leadership trait as well.
Okay. So when it comes to leadership, when you say that you need to have the ability to work with other people, could you give examples of how leaders can open up themselves or try to engage with people who are different when they themselves hold strong to their own value system?
Yeah, no, one of the leadership cultural intelligence is a very important part of our leadership framework. And one of the things that one of the tools or the practices that it gives to leaders to do that, to do exactly what you have described, Arlene, is to really know yourself, knowing who you are and knowing what is your core. And which is the set of behaviors and skills and practices that you would put in your core, where no matter what, that will never change, or you will never behave in a different way, because that is very much a part of your core. And knowing what to put in your flex, what are the things, what are the behaviors and skills and attributes that you will put in a part of your leadership set, which you are able to flex and which you need to flex in order to be able to work with people who are very different from you better. And we keep encouraging people to constantly challenge what is in your core and what is in your flex, and constantly move things from your core to your flex. And the more you're able to do that, the more adaptable and resilient you can be as a leader.
I see.
And a lot of people, Arlene, who have gone through our programs feel that they were incredibly challenged by our programs to do that. It was not easy, but at least they have started the process of doing that. And they have found it hard, but at least it has helped them in terms of their leadership, in terms of having a bigger leadership impact.
In your website, there's a page where you share case studies of the impact of being under common purpose, where they transform themselves or they change. Perhaps you can share some of the stories.
Well, there are lots. I think the four kinds of impact that we say our programs produce are, one is around the leadership impact itself. Where people are better leaders as a result of doing our programs. So I would say the whole kind of leadership quadrant, around leadership learning, where they are learning a whole lot of, picking up a whole lot of competencies which are around leadership. So they spot opportunities, they see difference as a strength. And they're just able to operate at a different leadership level as a result of doing the program. And there are lots of examples of that. We had someone very senior from Australia who did the Commonwealth Study Conferences. And he said that one of the things that Common Purpose Program gave him is a more holistic way of doing things.
I see.
To be open to solutions and ideas which they absolutely would not have thought of in their toolkit before doing the program. So that's kind of one example. The other, a very senior business sector participants who said that one of the things Common Purpose did for him was to make him a lot more creative and innovative. And because we actually present a whole lot of perspectives on the program, and because participants get a lot of perspectives from each other because of our cross-sector groups coming together, that wisdom that came from different perspectives gave them a lot of confidence when they were trying to find solutions to complex problems in their organizations. So there are lots and lots of examples of the leadership impact. That's one. Then there is a whole set of impact that would come under broader networks, where as a result of coming on the program, our participants are genuinely able to diversify their networks, their professional networks, their city networks, their country networks, their peer networks, and learn from each other. As professionals, one of the things we often become is lazy as a result, about who we know and what we are learning from that person.
Or being in a comfort zone.
Being in a comfort zone, absolutely. And that laziness is not because we want to be lazy. It's often a function of time and capacity. But what the program does, it accelerates their ability to broaden the network and make it richer and more diverse. The other impact is around better decision making, and there are lots and lots of examples of where people are making better decisions as a result of going through our programs, because they have more knowledge, they have more insight, they have more understanding of the context. And the last thing is, I deeply believe, and I know the ASEAN program will do that, and I cannot wait to see the impact of it, is that we produce people who are often more innovative, and who are confident at being more innovative leaders as a result of doing our programs. They are bold and brave and more confident about being innovative. They won't shy away from trying to make 2 into 11 instead of trying to make 2 into 4. That is incredibly exciting outcome for Asia and for ASEAN.
That's true. I think the word innovative or being innovative is the golden goose that a lot of people are looking for, but it's not easy to get.
And I think it goes back to the thing about the culture.
I see.
If you look at our education system and the way we have all sort of been brought up in Asia, and I'm a product of that system, and I'm very proud of it at one level, but there are certain things about the system which kind of put you on a back foot when it comes to taking risks or being able to deal with failure. And you cannot be innovative unless you're encouraged to take risks and confront failure. And the program, in a lot of ways helps you do that.
Anyway, this is the end of our second segment. We will continue with the third segment, where we talk about cities. What makes a smarter city? For more interviews by Durian ASEAN, please tune in to our website at durianasian.com. If you're on the go, you can always download our TuneIn app on your mobile. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels at Durian ASEAN and Durian ASEAN TV. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, Twitter and Instagram. We always welcome feedback from our listeners. Stay tuned with the Durian Heat on Tuesday to Friday, same time at 1 o'clock in the evening on GMT Plus 8. Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.